Hello, everybody. I'm Zach Kenney from ZK Painting. We're a custom painting contractor based in Rhode Island, and this is episode 13 of ZK Live. Tonight we have Jeremiah from Artistic Finishes. They're based out of Jacksonville, Florida. I'm not going to attempt his last name. We'll have him tell us what it is. I think it's Broska, something like that. We'll see.
Hey,
Hello, sir.
how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. A little bit nervous, but I'm ready.
Good. Good. Welcome. No reason to be nervous. We know you're the real deal. Just be yourself. Just happens to be a camera in front of you.
I'll be okay. Once we start talking about paint,
Yeah.
you got to be a little bit smarter than the paint. That's what I say sometimes to my employees when they have questions.
Yeah, it's not rocket science what we do, that's for sure.
No.
What do you do?
So do you have like specific questions, or do I just start talking?
I have some like specific questions that we'll ask at the end. But to start, just sort of give us like a background of what your company does and sort of how you got to be here, and then we'll sort of dive into like the deeper stuff.
Okay, let me get this a little bit more comfortable.
I have my iPad up on like a briefcase and 4 big giant books, right?
Yeah, I got the plastic, what is this? Plastic file cabinet bin. It's basically the startup edition of a file cabinet backed by a sample box. And I put some Tylenol and some pens in there to kind of give it enough weight so it doesn't fall over. So we got a real strategic outfit over here.
Perfect.
I guess I'll start talking about my company first because that's kind of why we're here. I started Artistic Finishes in North Florida about 4.5 years ago. It would have been 4 years in March, so we're about 4.25 years in. And I wanted to show people finishes that they hadn't seen before. That's really what motivated me to get started. And also to have a career that I could be proud of and to be respected. I spent a lot of time in the restaurant business. It's kind of where I landed myself after, it's really the only job that I could get after some of the decisions that I had made as a teenager and as a young adult. So I bounced around restaurant to restaurant for a while. I remember looking around one day at a lot of the people on the line that I cooked with, and there was a lot of drinking going on and just on the job, after the job, every single night. And I just remember thinking, the people that I used to look up to, I was like, I don't want to be like them. I don't want to be 60 years old and complaining about be a head chef somewhere and be complaining about my life every single day, about how I have to work 70 hours a week. I have to do this. I have to do that. If you don't like your life, the only person that you have to blame is yourself, and I was told if your parents put you on the toilet seat backwards when you're, a couple months old, that's on them. If you're still doing it when you're 30, that's on you. That's your fault. So it reached a point where, I felt that I had to do something and I wasn't happy. And, I remember meeting a man when I used to wait tables and cook too. It was better money working in the front of the house in the restaurant, but a little more artistry working in the back. So I kind of, I did both. So I remember waiting on a guy that was always happy. He was also Polish. His last name was Borowski. My last name is pronounced Broszka and Polish. But in America, you just lose the Z and just Broska. But Mr. Borowski was always happy. He was always smiling. He would come into Mellow Mushroom where I was working at the time, and kind of a funky pizza joint. And he would just be by himself, and he was always happy and just respectful. And I asked him what the key to life was. Why are you always so happy? Why you tip well? Like, you're just, everything about you, you're just glowing, And he's like, it's because I'm doing what I love to do as a career. And he said, what do you love to do? And I said, I love to golf and I love to make art. They got a little TV check thing going here. So I said, I like to golf and I like to make art. And he said, well, you need to find a way to make money doing one of those two things. Make something to do with golf or something to do with art your career. And to me at that time, it seemed impossible. I was like, it's easy for you to say that, but sitting where you're at right now, but I have no idea how to get from where I am now to where you're at. You know, you've made it and I haven't. So he said, one step at a time, one thing at a time. He said, go tonight and buy yourself a canvas, you know, buy some paints, invest in your future. You know, everything that you buy is, he's like, you know, that's a permanent investment in yourself, in your future. So that's what I did. I started buying up all these different tools, you know, and practicing Venetian plaster and different painting finishes off of YouTube. Anything that I could learn, anything I could absorb from anybody, I tried it. Most of the stuff that I do today has been from trial and error. You know, if I do something well, it's probably because I failed at it 10 times before I got it right. Or if I do a unique finish, maybe it's because I accidentally did that on another job where I was trying to intended to do something else, but then I accidentally made something great. And then I had to remember how, like it was an accident. I literally fall backwards into success. And I don't know how, you know, sometimes if I look back, I can't believe it. I can't believe that I'm running a company and gainfully employing anywhere from 5 to 7 artists, and this is a career for them. They're very well paid, very happy. People come and go in this business, you know, and they're going to open their own businesses one day. I know that. But if I can be a conduit for creativity, then that's, at the very least, that's the best thing that I can do, you know, at the end of my existence. So I get sidetracked sometimes. So if you
no worries,
intervene and kind of steer me back in the right direction, feel free to do that. My fiance's laughing at me right now.
Well, I can tell you, I also was in the restaurant industry before. Like, I painted a little bit, and then I was in the restaurant industry for a little bit. And I had a very similar epiphany and decided that I didn't want to be like those guys that have been there forever. They were making decent money from my perspective, but they were all miserable. There was a lot of drinking and a lot of drugging going on. So it's interesting to hear you say that, because I had a similar experience. And I'm very grateful for having moved on past that, and also wanted to find a path where I could excel and be happy and not end up like those people. And I've had people in my life where you look at them and you go, I want to be like that guy. How do I do it? So I can relate a lot to your story so far.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. A lot of the, you know, digging myself out of the hole that I had created, for lack of a better explanation, it was really it was like a whole village of people that it took that helped me every day. You know, I didn't do it by myself. It was, you know, I reached a point where I was ready to take help from people and try to learn from people, and just ready to fail. You know, if I was at least going to try it, even, you know, give it my best shot. If I failed, then I was okay with that. Whereas before, I wasn't even willing to try, you know? So that's how my whole journey began. From the beginning, I had a very clear vision of what I wanted my company to be. Like I said, I wanted to be unique. I wanted to constantly be introducing materials and finishes that other people weren't doing. If that's what, if 10 people, 9 out of 10 people are doing this finish on Instagram or Facebook or whatever the platform is that we use to compare ourselves or to relate ourselves to other people, I wanted to be different. And you asked me to do this because you mentioned if I had any advice for anybody that might currently be in the position that I was in, you know, 7, 8, 10 years ago. That's about how long I've been in this industry. About half of that I've been running my own business, but I used to work for other people as well. But you would ask me if I had any advice for anybody that might be trying to come up in this business. And I would just say, don't be afraid to try. You know, fear was the biggest thing stopping you from success, or because success is very fickle. I mean, what is the definition of success? To me, success is being able to accept my failures and to move on from them, and to accept that my employees are going to make mistakes. I'm going to make mistakes every day. Whatever my vision for the day is, it almost never goes that way, and that's okay. You know, if I think I'm going to just come in and I'm going to lay down the law every day and everything's going to go exactly as planned, that is not, it's not a storybook type deal for me. It's show up and expect things to go wrong. How good are you going to get at fixing them? How good are you at touch up? You know, your things are going to get damaged, destroyed. So that's kind of a maturity thing. Over time, you kind of just learn to accept it, that things are not going to be perfect. And I don't have to be perfect either, you know? So, but try telling that to a client that's finding nail pops and high gloss finishes. You know, we just did a job where we had 18 nail pops in one wall. It was a high gloss Gracello Venetian plaster. It's a pretty labor intensive finish. Hand polish with a trowel at the very end, and the imperfections in the drywall don't really show through until that last coat.
Yeah.
So, you know, I had to eat a couple $1,000s on that, even though it wasn't my fault. You know, it's just one of those deals where you just accept it and move on. Like I was talking to you before this, you know, do you want to live life in the rear view, or do you want to live life looking forward? And I'm looking forward to the future.
And what would you do what could you do for next time to prevent that?
I could do a better job at scanning the wall with lighting, with my hands, using any of my senses, and definitely going over that with my lead guys who are often doing the prep work. That particular job, we primed it ourselves. A lot of times we'll defer that to the residential painting company that's on the job already. If they've already specified a, you know, finish in there, I'll just let them prime it. I'll give them our primer. Sometimes the builder's okay with that. Sometimes they're not. We primed this particular job, so it was on us. Like, yeah. It was on me to, once I put that primer on the wall, I've now inherited that surface, you know, and I have to live up to that. That's integrity, you know. Do you have it or not, you know? So
do you own the Festool inspection lights?
No, I don't.
If you don't, I have to tell you, if you look at Phil, one of my lead guys, Phil_ZK Painting, if you look at one of his posts recently, we're doing a metal wall, and it looks okay when you walk up to the wall. You put that inspection light on that wall, and it looks like, he has pictures, it looks like the surface of the moon.
Really?
The Festool inspection light, I was very skeptical for many years at a $450 little LED light.
You hear that, babe? $450 for a light. You gotta ask.
It has saved us so much money by having that light.
Oh, what's up, Slater? You know this guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you put that thing on a wall, man. Let me tell you, you will see every single thing like it's high gloss already. So that is a tool that I highly recommend and will save you in the future.
That wall looked nasty.
It did. It was pretty bad, but it was brand new plaster, that wall, and it was
brand new what? Plaster?
Plaster, yeah.
Veneer plaster or drywall?
So we pretty much only paint plaster in New England, in Rhode Island, and
veneer.
Yeah. It's like you know, they do a scratch coat, and then they do their like smooth coat over the top.
Yeah.
We don't paint much. Only time we paint drywall is in high rises in Boston. Everything else is plaster, and we've seen the standards go down consistently as far as how smooth that finish is and how perfect it is. I think that the plaster contractors are getting squeezed on price, and they just keep lowering their quality of finish, and we have to end up doing a lot of work on our end.
It's the screw your buddy system. It's just pass on, just borderline acceptable product to the next guy that's going to inherit it.
Yeah. And the GCs look at the prices for the good plasters, and they can be 2 and 3 times the price.
Yep.
And so they go, oh, we'll take a gamble. We'll go with the cheap guy. And then I'm giving them a change order to skim out full walls. Like that project, the GC had to pay us to skim the walls because when you put a light on it, it was the surface of the moon.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have to convince my fiance to let me spend some money to get one. If you look at what it's that big of a,
if you look at what that one project cost you, if you have that light, and it's going to prevent all of those in the future. And it's like putting on the gloss without putting on the gloss. That's why we love it, because we do a lot of gloss work. And it's like putting on that final coat of gloss the first thing we do is walk up to the wall, put that light down at the bottom. It shines a specific like cone of light or something specific. It's meant for surface inspection.
Yeah.
It's not just like a light to light up a room.
Well, it sounds like a no-brainer. There you go. So, I learned something right there. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Say hi to Lola. Lola. Well, she just came up in my dog. She just came up and interrupted, but then she got shy. So, all right. Yeah, we're going to get one of those for sure. I can see the benefit.
Totally.
That's another thing that it brings me to is the definition of like success between the people that I see make it in this business and the people that don't. And when I say this business, I'm talking about anything from plastering to high-end painting to, I think we're all trying to achieve a certain level here. Like that's what a lot of us have in common in this kind of network that we're building, is that we're trying to push a certain level of quality, and everything is fighting against us, so any tool that I've noticed that the people that succeed are the ones that are willing to reinvest back into their business. If you're constantly taking the money that you make from your business and putting it somewhere else in the beginning, you're not going to, thank God that that's one thing of the foresight that I had, is to buy good equipment, that I know what the word festool means, or Merca or whatever. I asked Slater, I still can't get him to answer me if the Merca sander will actually hook up to the festool vacuum, because I could have sworn I saw him using a festool vac with a Merca sander.
I'm a fan of that combination personally. I think that's a better combination than Merca.
I just ordered the Merca Diros, or one of them. I got a bunch of 5-inch festool sanders, so I wanted to get a 6-inch. So I got a Merca 6-inch coming. I don't think she knows about it, but I got different credit cards and stuff that I can sneak once in a while, if I need to get something and I need to fly below the radar, the Amazon boxes show up and you got to shuffle them in the house. But I buy all this stuff so I can create a better product. So it's worth investing that money in the beginning in a good sprayer, or, good trowels, good equipment. Because you can't do this on your own. And you need to look at, you need all the help you can get in this business. You're not going to catch every single nail pop. You're not going to, that's why this equipment is made to help us, and as much as you can have to help you towards that goal, the better,
So what is artistic? I'm going to bring us back a little bit. What is Artistic Finishes, the company? What does it look like? How many employees do you have? What kind of work do you do, and how did you get to be where you are at now from the time you started?
That's a lot of questions. So if I get off track, then get me back.
So number of employees
right now,
and what type of work? Let's start there.
Okay, what type of work? We do, it can't be defined by one thing. I would say that it's a combination of, the biggest thing that I'm focused on right now is liquid metal. Liquid metal, oxidation finishes, something that you're going to look at and you're not going to be able to tell what it is or how it was created. If you're going to look at it and you're going to have a whole bunch of questions. that's the kind of stuff that I'm into creating right now. Stuff that's not going to have a budget, really. You know, if I can create something that's different, it's not going to be about how much it costs. You know, it's going to be about people want it, and that's going to be what it is. And I think that liquid metal, I'm going to go ahead and make a prediction here, is that liquid metal is going to be definitely the wave of the future for monolithic finishes as well as dimensional finishes. And I'm trying to get ahead of that curve. You know, so I linked up with a company in Germany that I'm doing distribution with. They're called Inametal. I think you guys use Metal. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I've been using...
started Metal. He's the owner for 15 years, and then he passed Metal on to someone else, and then he started Inametal. So the products are going to be almost exactly the same, the binders and everything. So I'm buying from the guy that also created Metal. So I'm sure that we're working with a product that's very similar.
Is it a polyester resin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
crazy stuff.
Huh?
It's crazy stuff.
Yeah, it is. I've had success with, I've probably tried every liquid metal that you can get in the United States. As a matter of fact, I know I have. The ones that are actually real metal, not just, and I'm not going to name names, but the ones that are, you know, 99% precious metal dust, you know, by a compound, once they've hardened, it's basically turning back into a metal veneer. And there's a lot to it. You know, I try to tell these people, okay, so back on the subject, you pulled me off that time. That was your fault, not mine.
So we got to, you do metal.
I do metal.
What else do you do? And then let's dive.
Okay, I do Venetian plaster. You could skim my Instagram and it probably would answer it a lot easier than I could. I do brick lime washing. I do all lime wash finishes, ceruse oak finishes, faux wood graining. I stay away from high gloss paint. That's something that I don't do.
Smart.
I have no interest in doing it. None. I'll do a high gloss plaster all day long. It's called Gracello. I only use pure, authentic lime-based plasters, and they don't. I mean, you're tough to find any synthetic plaster anymore these days, anyways. But I like the most expensive products you can get. You know, I use Modern Masters Master Clear coats. I use their dead flat varnish. I believe it to be a very superior waterborne clear for cabinetry and things like that. I'm really into the science of all of this, you know, the different alkalinity levels and the different paints and lime washes and what not to do. Yeah, I do that, lime washing. What else do we do? Bunch of wood finishes. Like I said, the lacquered metal. I'm trying to look around my house. Oxidation finishes. We make fine art. Art, murals. I've done some street art as well. Just whatever tickles my fancy. If somebody comes at me, you know, with a certain project, I probably turn 7 out of 10 projects down, if not more. Not out of grandiosity, but just because it's not a good financial fit for economically for either me or the client. If you have one wall to paint and you're in Rhode Island, for example, one brick facade on the front of your 2-story house, you know, it's probably not very economical to bring artistic finishes and 5 team members up there to paint your wall in one day. You know, versus what I have to charge you to do it. So it's kind of one of the challenges with homeowners, is kind of educating them as to, you know, how you know, I'm not the right guy for the job, and I don't mean any offense by that.
I say it all the time.
Right.
So you have 5 employees, 5 to 7?
I got it's always a moving target, that answer. I just brought 8 people up to Cincinnati to do 25,000 square feet of Marmarino lime-based plaster. It's a huge job. So I bring other companies in a lot to what I do. So I brought in Heritage Plasters from Asheville, North Carolina for that project. Donald Power with Power Custom Finishes down from Dallas. We brought him up. We brought another guy in from Boston. And then who else did we bring? Two ladies from outside of Cincinnati that have their own respective plastering companies. They're kind of more like faux painting and plastering. And then I think like one other person. And then three of us from Artistic Finishes went up there. And then a few stayed back home. So I have currently like 5 employees. I'm doing a lot of heavy lifting myself these days because I'm really I'm doing a lot these days. I'm running 2 companies, one with distribution, one with application. And I am bringing someone in tomorrow that it's going to be huge, this collaboration that I'm doing. We're going to, thanks, Slater. Are you talking about me or him? I think he's talking about you.
He's not talking about me.
Great, handsome, very handsome, great products, great people. I think it's both of us. But I try to like reach out to people and learn as much as I can. I am so open to collaboration with other companies. It's not even funny. Like I said, so there were 5 different companies on my last project. And
how did you secure that project then? Because you're based in Florida. Is that your main market, and then you occasionally will travel? Or
no, my main market is anywhere. I go wherever you don't have to, someone told me like you got to have your hometown like corner the market in your hometown first and then look elsewhere. I pretty much go wherever. Like I never set out to have a marketing plan except for the fact that I was going to take professional photos and create good content and post a lot and not pay Google because that didn't work. So now you can look up certain finishes and I'm going to come up in the Google rankings because I made videos for YouTube, and I made I did Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram. I hired people to take professional photos, which makes a difference.
Yeah.
If you don't want to, that's your choice. But for me personally, I look at it like I'm in the art and design business. If I'm creating visual effects, why not display them to the best of my ability visually? So that was a huge help. Was you can tell the difference between an iPhone photo and a photo that's really been professionally done, as long as they shoot it the way that I would want to shoot it, I guess. So it takes a while to kind of groom a photographer to see things the way that you would. And we got one now that's great. Her name's Tara Wellington. She's going to be building our online store for the liquid metal as well. I'm the first distributor for Inametal in the United States. I fell backwards into it. Once again, I was ordering for myself. And when I found out it was $800 or $900 for freight, whether I get one kit or 100, I bought a lot more than one. So, and then I was like, screw it, I'll just sell it. And then that's how it happened. So there was an enormous response to it because I think people know that I'm an applicator and I'm not trying to get rich off of you by selling you this product that I don't use or that I don't believe in or that I use it. I probably buy it for myself and use more for myself than I sell, So it's pretty easy to transition into that when people know you're authentic about it and they can see that you're using the same products every day we're going to start selling a few other products as well. So distribution is key for me.
So when you went out, you decided you're going to get into doing decorative finishes. You started watching YouTube videos, but you got a job with somebody? Is that?
I did. Right? So I like, this guy was a friend of the family and I had been begging him for years to hire me, and I would check in with him every 6 months or so. I knew he had a business doing plastering and doing faux painting back then, which I personally don't use that word to describe what I do because it's not it's not what I do. Faux means false. It means you're creating a false aesthetic, which is just totally fine, you know, for some companies. But I am creating authentic, intentional finishes to be exactly what they are. I am creating plaster to look like plaster, to look like it's oxidized, and blah, blah, blah. So he had a faux painting business. The long and short of it was, you know, he couldn't hire me, and, you know, he had enough guys already. I'm a decorative artist. So finally, I'm like, he's like, I barely have enough jobs to pay the guys that I have now. And I kind of pushed my way into the business. I wouldn't take no for an answer. I knew I wanted to like learn to do what he was doing, and he like dated one of my sisters, and I felt like I could leverage that, you know, and that didn't work. So I said, well, what if I go out and I can just bring you jobs? He's like, I don't know how you're going to do that, but I guess if you brought jobs into the company, then I could, you know, yeah, if you think you can do that. So I went around to every Sherwin-Williams, every paint store I could find in my area, and I made business cards before I even had a business. I had him make me cards. Wait, did I? I don't remember what I did with it. It was either my cards or his cards, but I went and passed cards around, and I just told my true story of what I was trying to do to these painting companies, and I guess I impressed upon them something, that I started getting referrals for decorative painting jobs before I even had a company or worked for one. So then I come to him one day and I go, I got 2 jobs for you. I got a front door faux wood grain with 2 transoms. Or no, side lights and a transom up top. And I specifically remember that. And I priced it out at like $2,250. And he was proud of me. He was happy. He was like, yeah, you charge enough for that, you know? And I had some other job too. So that's just the way it happened. I started selling more and more jobs, and then I became his lead guy on the job. He hired me because of my ability to digest and explain what kind of analytically break things down. And I don't know, I made the guy a lot of money until it didn't work anymore. So
then you learned how to do a lot of the work through working with that company then?
I learned yes and no. I learned a lot of what I didn't want to do, honestly. You know, think about it. If everything was great there, I would have never left, right?
Yep.
I'd still be working
Totally.
for that company if he had grown in the same direction that I was growing, but he wasn't. And now we're competitors. And it is what it is. I don't think we exactly like each other, but it is what it is. Not everybody's going to like me. And I'm okay with that.
So you went out on your own. You already had the skill set then to go get jobs.
Yeah, I already had a ton of contacts that I had gone out and brought to him. I brought him a $33,000 job, gave it to him. An $18,000 job. This isn't just about the money, but these are pretty big numbers.
And he didn't take care of you.
Huh?
And he didn't take care of you.
No, I had to chase him down, you know. And if he's listening to this, then hey, you know, hopefully you learn from the situation. I know that it kills him that I'm succeeding far beyond what his company ever was now because of just the rules that I set for myself and my company and the way that I treat people. He didn't even have a sprayer or a Festool. He would never buy a Festool. It's too expensive, you know. My guys have keys to the trailer, the garage code. Every one of my guys, I trust everybody. They can come and pick up an HVLP or airless, a Festool, you know, everything they need every day to go what they need to do, what they need to do. And I believe that is empowering to give your employees, you know, the best equipment that you can find. When they know that, when I'm working for somebody that I know is paying me the most amount of money he can afford to pay me, and he's giving me the best equipment that he can possibly find and the best products, I get up and I'm proud to go to work that day. They give me clothing that feels good. You know, I wanted to bring us that kind of a quality to the decorative painting industry in my area. You know, I spend a lot of, I invest in my employees. You know, I do.
I learned a lot from companies that I worked for about what I wanted to do differently when I started my company. And a smart person once said, I don't know who it was, but I think Nick, and I've heard Nick Slavik say it, but he's building a company and teaching all the skills to his employees to go out and run their own company.
Yep.
But he's building a company that they'll hopefully never want to leave.
Exactly.
And I think there's a lot to be said for that when you're running a business is, yeah, I'm trying to teach and empower and enable my team to not need me. But I'm also then trying to make an environment that's attractive enough that they don't want to leave and go someplace else. And I think not every business owner maybe looks at things that way. And, you know, I think we've all, when you go out on your own, you're like, I'm going to do this thing a little bit differently. So that's cool to hear that.
No, it's true. I never really thought about it that way until I've heard that said before. It may not be like intentionally, like when I wake up and in my mind, I'm thinking, all right, I need to create an environment that's so good that they don't want to leave. But,
well, now you can.
Well, I think I'm doing it subconsciously, that I'm trying to, my guys know if there's anything that I can do better, I'll say it live on record. If there's anything that I can do better for you, other than like doubling your pay or something. I mean, you know, I'll do it. I'll do anything I can to make your life easier. If you've got a problem, you can come to me with it. I want this to be a career for you. I don't want this to be something you're doing while you're looking for your next job.
Yeah.
You know? I paid one guy $72,000 to be my right-hand man for 1 year. That's big money, you know?
Yeah.
And it wasn't enough for him. It wasn't enough, you know? So, but I don't do this for the money. You know, I don't do this to get rich. I charge what I have to charge. I love to see the look on my clients' faces when they see what they've been given into their house, right? I'm just trying to make that happen for you, my client. I'm trying to give you what I feel that God created me to do this. This is what I've been created to do. I know that. So I'm building a team of people that believe in me and believe in the cause and that I believe in them. And it goes much deeper than just slapping paint on a wall. I mean, that is just one part of it, you know. It's kind of like a culture, a way of life, you know. Anyway.
All right, so now we've gone over the overview. We know kind of what you do. Now let's go deep on each of the different types of finishes, and you can give us all of your deepest secrets. Teach everyone how to do what you do, so we can put you at a bit. Oh, not that. Just give us what you're ready to give away. Let's talk about some metal, though.
You got a lot of people watching this, man. I mean, you're a big deal, huh?
We try to add a lot of value. I've been working at Instagram for years now, and we have a pretty large following, which I'm really grateful for.
I mean, I see a lot of people. Like, how many people do you think are watching? Oh, there's 27 people watching
27
right now.
there.
You guys got nothing better to do on a Sunday night. Well, listen up. 29, 30. Oh my God.
It's amazing. What social media has done, this platform. I mean, I would have killed for this when I was younger. I mean, I talk about it a lot, but I used to watch a lot of YouTube videos when I was younger, and watch them over and over again. Specifically, John Shearer had some videos that, they opened my eyes. I was talking to my wife today because I was talking with John Shearer today. He's going to be joining us on this podcast, which is insane.
We're all painting nerds. I'm listening.
But
Tricolor, what's up, Damien?
The idea that we can get on here and share what we're up to is so powerful, because I had some YouTube videos to watch and some forums to read, but nothing like what a young person or anybody gets to see, what our companies are doing on a daily basis. I hope it inspires people. That's a good part of why, I do it because I want to help my company. I think it's very valuable in the sales process to have shown everything that we do.
I can see that you're genuine about it, you know, and people can see that authenticity, man. The authenticity it goes so far, further than anything else. What is your motive for doing what you're doing, and are you willing to be completely honest about it? You know, I like that. You know, you're growing a following. I can respect that, and this is, I mean, it's more than I thought it would be. You know, the kind of magnitude of what you're doing, and I get a lot of people that follow me on Instagram, and I'm not necessarily interested in what they're doing, but they may be interested in what I'm doing, and I don't mean any offense by that, but it is what it is. But and there's people that I'm interested in what they're doing, and they're not interested in what I'm doing. You know, this is boring to them. So I speak your language, and my hat's off to you for doing this.
Yeah, it's I was just telling my wife a minute ago, like, all right, like this show has officially become work. It was quarantine when we started this, and I had this like desire. I've been planning a podcast for like 2 years, had the whole thing lined up, and never like actually pulled the trigger. So when this thing happened, I was like, I'm just gonna go live. I'm gonna start, and I had like all of this this fury of energy. That was like I was doing 3 a week, and after I would do 3 a week, I'm like, next week I'm gonna do 4 a week. Like, this is amazing. And you know, eventually it's like, okay, we're going to do 2 a week, and this is work. You know, I have to stop my life on a Sunday, and I have to do this every Sunday. And I have to plan for the next one.
Man, I'm like, I'm going to send you a bill for this.
Well, we negotiated ahead of time. I'm glad we did, because
I know.
Had you seen what this was going to be, you might have charged me more. I'm not paying him, everyone. We've had people who thought that that's happening.
They thought that what? They were getting paid?
I made jokes with a guy in the past about money being transferred, and some people thought I might have been serious.
Yeah. Well, let's get down to talking about the painting stuff, because I'm sure that's what these people want to hear.
Yes.
So what secrets do you guys want to know? Anybody that's watching?
So selfishly, everyone start putting your questions in, but selfishly, I want to know about Venetian plaster, because I don't do Venetian plaster. I want to do Venetian plaster. I think it's a really cool medium. The things that you can do with it are awesome. But if you can tell me how you got into it, and then sort of the process, what's important, is nerd out as much as you want. That's what we're here for.
Okay.
What is Venetian plaster to start?
Okay. So Venetian plaster is, the origin of it is from about 9,500 years ago in Jordan. Believe it or not, was the first occurrence that they know of, where it's basically crushed limestone. They take limestone out of the mountains, they crush it up, then they refine it by like heating and baking it. And they make it into a powder, like crushed lime. It's called calce, calcium carbonate. So they take that, and then they slake it. They make it into a putty, and they let it mature for a couple of years. There was a rule in Rome back in the day that all like plaster had to be matured for 3 years before it could be considered Venetian plaster, just like fine wine. Okay, so you crush the lime, you hydrate it, you let it age and mature, so it creates like a nice. It's almost like it's cooking and emulsifying, and it's all binding, you know, like together. Ancient Greece to lime wash the marble temples. There you go. Yeah. So they've been using it for like almost 10,000 years, right? America's the land of synthetics. We use synthetic, like our coatings turn into plastic. And what's up, Artisano? That's my boy, Limestrong. They've been using this stuff for like 10,000 years, man. It's nothing new. It's just that America, for some reason, we somehow missed the whole mineral coatings thing, where nobody else in the world missed it. You know what I mean? It makes up 2% of the painting market in the U.S., mineral paint, which mineral paint can be either potassium silicate or lime. Those are both minerals, and they're both minerals that are made into paint. But lime, back to the lime, it's the same thing. Venetian plaster, lime paint, lime wash. They're all made from lime. Okay. If you take pure Venetian and you thin it down, you basically have a paint. You add a little bit of natural binders and resin. How jacked are your shoulders? Is he talking to you?
I think he's talking about from the Venetian. I watch you guys like.
It'll crackle once in a while. We just did 25,000 square feet. Linda was there. Linda was watching a minute ago. But my boy Heritage Plasters, Tim, he's freaking awesome. He did like half of the work. So I had a workhorse there, my boy. Anyways, Venetian, so basically it's made from the earth, right? It's got so many incredible properties. So whether you're using it as a paint, as a trowelable, spreadable plaster, or as a wash, which is just a thinner version of the paint, or they found ways to make lime into almost a clear base. Instead of being a chalky base, they've actually made like almost clear bases of it. Like it's like almost clear, so you can make almost any color you want. You can make black lime paint or black lime wash. A lot of companies doing it in Australia, like Bowork and some other companies. But man, you trowel it on the wall. The cool thing about it is one color can give you like many different shades of the same color. And the reason is every impression that you make. See this behind me right here? This is Venetian right here. That's with some Modern Masters pearl on the trim. This is 3 different colors of what's up, Jeremiah? Favorite trowel? ? I'd have to say Nella for right now. The Nella trowel is definitely my favorite for right now. The most well-rounded trowel. I got some Pavons that I'm going to try out. And then there's another one that I like. Kome. Komes are good. So this is 3 different tones of gray. I've got a warm, I've got a light, and I've got a dark. So that's dark and warm. That one's more of a mid-tone gray that's cooler. And that's a little bit lighter. And I trowel them all together. But if you look at it from the side, it's got a nice gloss. Not gloss, but it's got a nice kind of sheen to it. Like an uneven mottled matte kind of look. And the thing I love about it is it creates such a unique look that it looks like I try to create things as to not be contrived, where it doesn't look like it was intentionally. You can't see anything in there that looks like man created it.
Yeah, the organic look.
My intention is to not leave a brush stroke or a trowel, a straight line behind. So if you were to look at my works or the works of our company, that is definitely one of my main directions, is to try to create things that it looks like nature, Mother Nature herself might have made that, you know?
Yeah.
So always hiding your tool marks is the clouds. Yeah, like clouds. But yeah, people call it modeling. They call it highs and lows, clouds, blooming. I've heard the word blooming, and it kind of blooms. It's basically one color.
You're taking a trowel and I've watched guys do it, and you're doing like a semicircle, almost sort of arched, like, and then you do a little random squiggle here and
scalloping. They call that a scallop technique. I don't recommend always doing that. I do more of a random, just all different direction technique. If you do that, it just depends on what finish you're going for. If you have the darker the color, the more it's going to show, the more dramatic the movement's going to be. So in order for Venetian plaster to have visual highs and lows, it has to have pigment in it. If there's no pigment, there's no action. Yeah, he likes Nella trowels too. I'm going to carry those actually with we're launching our online shop soon. We're going to have liquid metal trowels. We're going to sell lime wash, and I'm trying to figure out what plaster we're going to sell right now. There's definitely a couple that I'm thinking about. But the cool thing, what was I saying about the
applying it?
Applying it. What about what
I've never applied it, but I've watched a lot of people apply it, and
I don't think you should try it, man, because you're just going to end up being another competitor, and we don't need that. I mean, nobody needs that. Unless you're going to buy it from Artisano Plaster there, Limestrong. Actually, I just tried Lime Strong last night for the first time, and it's really good. It's just like I would just say, if you're gonna you want to try it, do it. There's nothing stopping you from trying it, but procrastination and fear that you're going to screw up, or fear of the unknown. You know what I mean? Hawk and trowel, yeah. So, how long do you work on a spot? Is keeping a wet edge a big concern? The first question: how long do you work on a spot? I don't know what they mean by that.
How many times do you go over the same spot?
Oh, okay. So many of the finishes that I do are minimum of 2 coats, if not 3 or 4. Sometimes, I've done finishes like, have like 15 steps on the wall where I'm doing I will literally mix up 12 different colors of plaster that are all similar in a similar range. And I will, to get a real dramatic look, I have many different techniques of pouncing with 2 different trowels and then knocking them down in different directions. And then, washing all of that down once it dries, burnishing in different directions. And I'll come in with the liquid metal the next day, and I'll put the liquid metal in there, and I might patina the liquid metal a little bit, then polish the whole thing together. It's just, it kind of evolves, and you got to really have the trust of your client to do that kind of crazy stuff. But normal Venetian plaster, if you're just going to do a marmorino, which is a lower sheen, you can get that anywhere from flat to matte to like a high satin polish if you want. That's the most user-friendly, is a marmorino. That has fine grain in it. It's that way it gives you great depth. There was another question that someone asked, or can we scroll back in the questions or no?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I
think we got it.
No, there's
keeping a wet edge. Keeping a wet edge.
Keeping a wet edge. Yeah, keeping a wet edge is important for me. I noticed the darker the color gets. And what they mean by keeping the wet edge, if you don't know what that means, it's just like when you're staining a board. If you look over and you're talking to your buddy and you stop and it freaking dries right there. And then anything you do over that, now you've got 2 coats here and you got 1 coat here, and you can't blend it in. You might as well start over, wipe it off. I don't know, but yeah, it's kind of the same concept where you're working a wet edge, and if that edge dries for long enough, you're going to see it in the final project. You're not going to be able to blend it out. So yes, keeping a wet edge is important. I'm left-handed, so I start up in the top right corner of the wall. If you're right-handed, you want to start in the top left corner. That way, once you put that product in the top left corner, you're working from dry to wet, dry to wet. You're working into your wet. That way you're not, if you do it the other way, you are landing your trowel into product that you've already finished, right? And I got one guy that does it that way. And I'm like, he won't stop doing it, but he makes amazing work, and it just works. I'm motivated to marry my taping, plastering, graffiti background with Venetian. He's motivated to do it. This guy works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, dude, if I can do Venetian plaster, anybody could do it.
So I have a project. Who knows when it's going to actually happen? It's been years in the making, but in I think it's 6 months, something like that, where we're going to be troweling on a ton of zinc. It's 2 coats of troweled zinc with a blue dye and a wax over the top.
Wow.
In DC that we're going down to do.
Better learn how to trowel.
Well, yes, I have someone that one of my friends, Adam Fox, made the sample, and he's going to be doing the work with us.
Adam Fox
down there to help. Yeah, you know Adam?
I don't know him. Somebody had turned me on to some of his content a few days ago.
Yeah, he's a very skilled craftsman.
Yeah, he knows about liquid metal. He used to use Midas, and now he's using pure metal.
We're using Midas on the job because Midas
has a good zinc. That's I'm gonna say that's my favorite product that they make is their zinc. Not a huge fan of the gold. It kind of looks like bronze, but everybody has a different look.
Yeah, the architect spec Midas. They found me through my website for Midas, and we bid the job a year ago at least.
Good for you. Yeah.
And it should be pretty cool. I'm gonna do some trowel in there. He may just have me mixing mixing metal. I don't know. But I'm excited to see how it goes.
Yeah. Cool. Let me know.
What are the biggest mistakes that someone could make? Like, what are the things you're really trying to avoid when you're doing Venetian plaster?
So the biggest mistake I think that an amateur would make is them not understanding the nature of the product and the fact that every single trowel stroke that you make is going to telegraph through. You're doing layers of it's basically like a semi-transparent stacking of layers that you compress into each other. So, once you go to burnish or polish that top coat, it picks up on the textures of normally you'll do a base coat you'll prime it, and then you'll do a base coat that's a little rougher for adhesion, and then you'll trowel into that with a second coat. Excuse me. And then you can go ahead and burnish it and close the pores up and polish it after 2 coats. You want to get it super smooth. I like to do a wet on wet on the second coat, where I'm literally, right when I see the second coat start to dry, I'm doing a third wet coat right over that and compressing all of that together. So a lot of the things that you don't want to do is, let's say you have, like right here, I don't want to take a trowel and go straight up right along that edge, because out here I'm now going to create a line with where that trowel was. Sorry.
Yeah.
The camera's throwing me off. Yeah. Okay. Try doing a straight line looking in the camera. It's pretty hard. See, that's yeah. Okay. So if I go just like that with a trowel, it's going to leave a line here that's never going to go away.
Yep.
Never go away unless I sand it out. Pretty much might as well start over if I got a lot of that going on. So what I do is I do different directions coming off the molding, and then I'll clean it up. You don't see any trowel strokes in that. See, there's nothing there that looks like clouds. What sort of prep do you have to do to a wall to get it ready for Venetian? It's good to have a level 5 finish. One of the biggest misconceptions is, oh, you're doing frickin' plaster, the builder, contractor. So I don't even have to prep the walls that good, right? Wrong. Exactly wrong. Every single imperfection in that drywall is going to telegraph through, because this is a sensitive product. Everything reads through to the surface, including flashing. If you repair some drywall and you don't prime it, but every other part of the wall is primed with your special primer that you're speccing, every plaster company will tell you what primer to use. Okay. So, even an acrylic primer, with good stain blocking ability, you can get a grip additive and mix it in there for adhesion. It'll work great. They sell.
We're about to run out of time on our first hour.
Yeah. Let me finish that question though, real quick. So
you have 1 minute, or we can continue it in the next one if you want to.
Just probably gonna forget.
I'll keep it. I'll write it down.
All right.
Let's talk about wall prep for Venetian plaster when we come back.
Sounds good. Let's. How long is the break?
As long as you want. Do you need a break?
No, I don't need a break.
All right.
Oh, we just got to cut off. Okay.
It cuts me in an hour, so I'm gonna literally just start it over again.
All right.
All right.